Welcome to Guess Who's Coming, where we delve into the nuance of gluten-free living. Today, we are thrilled to have Marc Warde with us. Marc is not only a trained chef from Le Cordon Bleu, but also an expert in hospitality management and a champion for gluten-free dining. After being diagnosed with celiac disease in 2014, Marc transformed his career to focus exclusively on gluten-free initiatives. He is here today to share his journey and insights. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you very much. Well, very warm welcome.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. So, I would like to start by, share us your story and how you got diagnosed with celiac disease.
Well, diagnosis took some years. About 25 years prior to my actual diagnosis, I was diagnosed with IBS, which I think is quite common. It wasn't that at all, really. And after a very protracted period around 2012, when its kind of symptoms really got bad, and that was primarily...
Can I ask you, what symptoms, normally did you have? Because it's always, kind of different between, celiacs,
Okay. Well, one's generally quite common, and it involves the toilet.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. Be specific as you want.
I don't even want to go that specific on that one, but I think it's fairly common. That problem happened a lot, and I'd actually experienced for quite a few years. I'd had that particular problem. And prior to owning Niche, I used to own a contract catering company. And we had some really quite fancy contracts, one of which was at Pinewood Studios.
Wow.
And I recalled a dinner that we had there where we had some guests for who were trying to impress, in fact, who for a new contract within that business. And I don't know what was wrong. I think I'd been eating normal bread and cakes that morning because our central bakery was there for the business. And I've probably being a little bit greedy, as I'm prone to. And during the lunch, I thought, oh my goodness, blub, 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 what's happening? And I literally had to, make my excuses with all these kind of important people there and do what was necessary.
Sure.
And that was one of many, many, many times where this happened. Obviously, I sold that business, and a couple of years later, we opened Niche. And originally, it wasn't actually a gluten-free restaurant. It was a bakery.
No way.
Like a regular bakery.
No way.
So we were baking all night, breads,
so
artisanal stuff. Of course, I was stuffing my face on that stuff.
Exactly.
And I made myself really, really unwell. So much so I had to have my tonsils out because I got lots and lots of tonsillitis. And then
because you were breathing also like flour all day long.
It was horrendous. And then I got this. I was often bloated anyway, but I just put that down to the IBS thing. But then I got this particular rash, which I later found out is called dermatitis herpetiformis, which is a characteristic rash that you get.
Sorry, it sounded a little bit like a spell from Harry Potter.
Yeah, it does sound a bit like that, but I promise you it wasn't a spell.
I bet.
So it's quite a particular rash. It has a particular shape. So naturally, I went to the doctor. And they sent me off with antihistamines. Mm-hmm. Didn't do a thing.
Sure.
And I went back again, stronger antihistamines. And I sat there with my laptop asking Dr. Google, as we all do.
No way, of course.
What's going on? And it came up, this could be celiac disease. So I actually phoned, rather than my GP, I phoned Celiac UK.
Okay.
And I was really lucky. I spoke to somebody, I wish I could remember their name, but I spoke to this lady who was fantastic, and she asked me to describe my symptoms, and I did all of them.
Sure.
And she said she thought it might be celiac disease. And I phoned the GP that very afternoon, and they saw me straight away. And I went for the blood test, and I had the endoscopy, and they took a biopsy of my gut, and gold card holding celiac without even knowing it.
No way.
So my business partner and I, were chatting one day after this, and he said to me, well, there's no point owning you owning a restaurant you can't actually eat in, so why don't we? And we thought about it long and hard, and cooking gluten-free, if you're used to cooking normally, and obviously I trained in a particularly French way, is not so straightforward. And I'm a self-confessed nerd. I like to study. I like
Love
to
it.
know my stuff. So
And also like the flour is different. I just like when I found out that I was gluten-free, I have the Italian nonna, you know, like
Yeah, of
super
course.
old lady that she's used to like make everything with her hands.
Yes.
And when she started like kind of cooking with my flour, she was super mad. It was like, it's so sticky, you know? So it must have been like super strange for you, like as a chef to.
And I spent a lot of time learning about the flour mixes and how you have to hydrate. And there's a really simple trick to good gluten-free cooking where you're using flour, and that is hydration.
Sure.
And doing it a day ahead. So much more patience is required. So you make it much, much wetter in general. And then the next day when you come to use it, you think that's never going to absorb all that water. Wow. But it does. Because rice, if you think about when you cook normal rice, and most gluten-free flours have a good proportion of rice in them, or rice flour, you put water in, you put two or three times the water of the rice. So it makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense that when you're cooking with it, if you don't want to dry and, you know, because some of the food out there, when I first was diagnosed, I thought, oh, this is depressing.
Yeah, of course.
I thought I was never going to be able to have a croissant again.
I know. And have you ever heard like of celiac disease before? Like as a, you know, as a chef, have you ever been in touch with gluten-free food or? Because it wasn't that common as now.
No, so. Absolutely not. And I think I'd heard of it. I didn't know many people with it. If I'm honest, you know, people used to come into businesses that I was working in were probably thought of as a bit of a pain in the arse, really. But now I can't blame anybody. I'm an advocate for my own allergy. I don't want to be sick. So that's why I completely understand. I completely understand how some people interpret people who are fighting for their allergy as can appear entitled. But I don't believe that's the case. I mean, maybe it is for some. But in truth, what we're actually advocating for is I don't want to be in bed for 2 weeks sick again.
And also there's nothing that I can do. It's just like, you know, I have this thing, so I just want to be safe.
I just don't want to be ill.
Exactly.
And now, of course, because I've been off gluten for so long, if I have just a bit, it's horrible now. Much more severe symptoms and repercussions. So you pay the price.
Sure.
And it's the lethargy and the bloating, which is horrendous.
Yeah, sure.
And the bloating.
It's the bloating also for me as well.
It's bad.
Immediate, yeah. But also, like, how long, like, the switch happened after how many years, months, days?
It took, I mean, because we had a really good customer base because we're next to a theatre there. And I really didn't well, neither of us really wanted to alienate the customers we already had. And I thought there are lots of things that are naturally gluten-free. So that's you tick those things off on the menu, I should say. But I wanted to make sure that I wanted it to be a place where people could come and have things that might not ordinarily be able to get because they either take a little bit more time or effort to make, or those products are just a bit more challenging generally.
Totally.
So that's kind of what we did. The most popular menu item on of our starters is the NFC, which is niche fried chicken.
Wow.
Which was originally a buttermilk fried chicken. We removed the milk allergen in 2019, but it's a coated chicken breast pieces, which people have with the barbecue or aioli, and it's like a certain Colonel's favorite. But as a starter and for celiacs, you can't have that. Great.
Yep.
And the other one I think is very popular is the Parmesan and cheddar donuts, which we do as a starter.
Oh my God.
You pull them apart, that luxury, luscious cheese or oozing away. It's very, very, very nice. I hope I'm making people hungry. But
I'm kind of hungry right now, but okay. I'm just going to go, you know, after maybe for dinner tonight. But you started, like when you started Niche, how like being celiac kind of transformed, like you think it gave like a plus right now to your like restaurant in a way?
There's so many aspects to this because there's a social aspect.
Sure.
There's your friends, there's your family, there's business, being in business.
Oh, yeah, sure.
because niche is part of what I do. It's not
Sure.
all of what I do. And so every social interaction that you have is changed because you're the one who has to eat a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
So you have friends, for example, who want to go to a particular restaurant, but there's maybe one thing that you could have on the menu that we wouldn't want to pay loads of money for. If you go for a pizza in the UK, which you probably do, it's probably a sin for you, but
I mean, no, I've had great pizzas here as well.
You have?
I mean, yeah. Also,
Gluten-free?
like traveling. I mean, I was here, like my first pizza, I was here like many years ago. And of course, it was so different. But I just because they had like the gluten-free option, I was like, okay, that's cool. It wasn't as the Italian one. But when I travel, I want to kind of, try new things that I don't usually, maybe eat in Italy. So
I get that.
Yeah.
So pizza places here, if you go out and you're with a bunch of friends that do gluten-free, your pizza is like half the size of theirs. And on a base that's usually like a bit of
the majority of the time is just
board.
Like so
there are better ones out there now, but they could be a cross-contamination nightmare because they're done in the same oven as everybody else's food. So and that's something I'm also conscious of. If I stay in a hotel and they have a buffet breakfast, I think, oh no,
I know,
because people are just careless.
Yeah.
And they don't think that somebody might have an allergy and they put this in, the one with this. And there's one hotel I went to, I was in, I think it was the Netherlands a couple of weeks ago for work. And they had a buffet breakfast, lovely. And every single vessel that they had with the bacon and the eggs and everything had bread at the bottom to soak up oil. It was a new one to me. But so I said, no, I can't have that.
Yeah, sure.
They made me an omelette.
It's always also like when I was growing up and kind of I was getting to, starting to understand how being a celiac was because I was young. I was 11 years old, and I kind of felt in a way that the main I think mistake is just like contamination in general, because like this same knife you can spread jam to, it has to be different. And what do you do like in your kitchen to make sure that everything is just like super safe and
well, we don't allow gluten into the building.
Well, that's for sure.
So that's
the main thing.
Thing. So all of our supply chain is very closely audited.
Sure.
And but we extended that in 2019. We also prohibit nuts and peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame. So we kind of extended that to be more the friendly face of for people with allergies.
That's amazing.
And I suppose as I've worked in the field for quite a long time, and I started writing for a couple of magazines and stuff, I wanted to be more inclusive in what we did, but I also didn't want to be prohibitive because some celiacs, I'm lucky enough I can still have dairy.
Thank goodness. I know. Yeah, me too.
Life without butter would be quite sad for me. But so we were able to let those people, have some. But we've also got lots of options which are milk-free. Sure. So there's something for everybody there.
And it's good because maybe at first you could have felt kind of, scared to, oh my God, if I'm, taking everything out, but it maybe gave you the chance to be more creative with your...
Absolutely. You have to be a little bit more inventive, perhaps. Sure. And
maybe that nerd side of you helped you with that.
I think it did. I think it really did help to, to read what other people were doing. Other restaurants and lots of things are naturally gluten-free.
Oh, yeah.
And the people, it's like some people say, oh, I can't eat vegan food. Well, what do you think a banana is?
Exactly.
Duh. So there's some stuff like that. And also that in the UK, that a lot of products in the early state, in the last 5 to 10 years were really rushed out to supermarkets. So they weren't good products. So you'd have bread, and you still do to some extent, bread which has great big holes in the middle. And, And holy bread, which is dry as,
super dry. It's
and
just like a universal thing.
Yeah, who wants that? But there are really good products out there. And I suppose because I work in travel still, so I get to go to lots of gluten-free places all over the place and be able to see real artisans doing something unique.
Exactly.
And I love that. So I go to supermarkets when I'm abroad. It's super nerdy thing, but I go to the free-from section and see what they have.
Yeah, sure.
Always
I always
nice.
do the same thing. I'm not a chef, I
No,
try to be
definitely.
sometimes, but I'm always super curious.
And buy stuff and bring it home and see what it's like. Sometimes, sort of hit and miss, but like it's interesting. And then I go to, I usually make a list if I go, especially if I go to a city and go to all the gluten-free places there.
Sure.
My dad lives in Spain, so there's a place not far from where he lives in Marbella, which we always go to called Cieloso, which they've got several outlets all through Spain.
Oh, Celicioso.
You said it properly.
Oh my God, yeah. I've been to in Celicioso. I've been in Madrid, actually. I had my first cupcake. I tried a cupcake there for the first time. It was so good. And I'm super curious because as an Italian, I know kind of the situation in Italy with gluten-free and celiac. Because when I was, again, younger, nobody knew about like being celiac and stuff like that. Again, I was like, yeah, I'm celiac. And people were like, are you like Celtic? Well, what is that? How, like, since you discovered and you've been diagnosed with celiac disease, like how did you see like a change in people, like were more like gluten-free people, how like the situation here was and is right now?
I think diagnosis has improved and people are more aware. People do it for all people eat gluten-free for all sorts of reasons, not just because of celiac disease. They believe they have an intolerance. A lot of people go untested. A lot of people also believe it's somehow trendy or better for you. Do you remember eating BC before celiac disease?
Yeah,
you do.
A little bit,
yeah. See, I think I'm very lucky to, although it made me ill, but I'm very lucky to have been able to eat normal food for 40 years. It's a long time, and so I know what food should taste like.
Exactly.
And I think that really helps.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Our rule of thumb has always been, if you can tell it's gluten-free, then we're not really doing our job.
Yeah.
And the same applies to like bread and other things. I've yet to find an amazing croissant that is quite the same as a buttery one from a French patisserie.
Yeah, I had the chance to interview like this Italian girl. She's a chef and a baker, and she was diagnosed so young that she didn't know how things tasted. So she had to learn by herself to make things that were gluten-free and actually good. So the fact that you had the chance to taste, before normal food, it just like kind of helped you with that. And what do you miss about, like, what's the first thing that you would like to eat for a day? Like
croissant,
yeah,
absolutely fresh croissant.
Oh my God,
pastries.
Pastries.
I'd like to be able to have really good brioche bun, a burger in a bun that does not go wet and pappy.
The wet.
We have that now. We've actually
amazing.
got a great bun.
I don't know why for me it's a chicken nugget.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I'm Italian. I could tell you like a pizza or whatever, but like, I don't know, because right now I eat everything is just like gluten-free. My nonna is great. She makes the best, pasta and everything. Okay, enough of that. I'm so sorry. I'm super interested about like being a chef and meeting people that are gluten-free. Like, how's your community? Like, how do you keep the trust and, the communication with the gluten-free community here?
I think we've been really lucky. We've built up a really loyal following with the restaurant and trade. We would like to open more of them. I think that is the plan going forward. And I think, but the climate has changed. I mean, obviously, COVID changed everything for so many people.
Oh my God.
And obviously, we were closed for a long time. And we were worried, like every restaurant, I suppose, was that people will come out. We actually closed a bit earlier than the announcement went out because we thought, well, people with immune systems that are compromised, we thought, well, how can we, hand on heart, allow people to come in and potentially get really sick? Because at the beginning, none of us knew. So I think that was an important decision. But I think we went back and it got busy pretty much within a month, 2 months. We're back to normal busyness. So we're very lucky. And I think we keep the menu fairly fresh. We change it 4 times a year. I think we're not super at the whole social media thing,
Okay.
but we're still full. So
Yeah, sure.
that's
Amazing.
that's
And
good.
so, I mean, thank you for sharing everything about your restaurant, but you're a very interesting man because you have so many also like other passion. For example, let's move on from your company. But I want to talk about the Free From Kitchen, which produces special gluten-free meals for the airline industry. Like,
So we're part of we're with a business called Food Case International,
amazing.
who are based in the Netherlands, and they sell our brand called Libero, which is Libero Special Meals. Libero.
Libero.
Yeah, Italian.
Yeah, I was like, how should I pronounce that?
So we do special dietary meals for the travel industry. So we sell into multiple airlines where you're able to order a special meal in advance. That's usually in business, but sometimes also in economy and first where we're flying.
Sure.
And you pre-order a range of special dietary meals, which can be a diabetic meal, a gluten-free meal, a dairy or milk-free meal, or lactose-free meal, and several others as well. And you order those before you fly on a particularly long-haul flight.
Sure.
And then we deliver those. And we're trying to work with airlines so they have a global plan. And we also provide a meal that is a bit like the religious meals in a sealed box where the passenger is the one who opens it. Sure. So it gives the allergen guarantee. Because the main problem with airlines, if you even order a special dietary meal at the moment, most of them, there's a big risk of contamination because of the sheer size of the kitchens and the chain that goes towards making that meal. So ours are allergen guaranteed.
Sure.
And that's my big thing because I worked in aviation providing normal food for the regular passengers prior to having or during the time we've had niche. And we're doing something like 75 different airlines. And it's a hugely privileged position to be able to see what these.
So also you were like you worked there before being diagnosed as well?
Before, during and after, yes.
Amazing.
So it was quite challenging in that I couldn't try lots of stuff or became unable to. I made lots of mistakes at the beginning. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And it wasn't fine. But I think it gave me a really good understanding of broad spectrum of different flavors from around the world, and in a way that you can't have in one building.
Exactly, because I'm super curious because because everybody flies. It's just like, how do you satisfy everyone? Like also, I mean, as a chef, such a creative mind because like a lot of food. Like, how do you combine a meal in such a small box, and satisfy everybody?
Truth is, you can't.
Yeah, sure.
You'll never please all of the people all the time. But the truth is, when you're flying, you're in a tin can flying at 500 miles an hour. Everyone's a little bit nervous because it's a control thing, I think. Mm-hmm. Sure. So people want comfort in their food, and that's what sells best. And actually, the more complex you make a dish, the more you alienate your audience with it. So, if you're having a meat meal, you might start with chicken. Crowd please. Most people who eat meat eat chicken.
Yep.
And then you think of a sauce that will go with it. And then you want it to stay moist in the air because the best one in the world, it's cabin crew, not chefs, reheating that meal. And some are brilliant, some less so. And you've got to really engineer meals to be moist, to easy to eat, and fill people up and make people a nice warm hug from inside.
Amazing. And you're also like a public speaker, like you talk a lot about gluten-free world. Tell me more about it.
So I do quite a lot of public speaking because I've become an advocate within obviously not just gluten-free, but allergies in general. So I've written for Free From Living and I write for a magazine called On Board Hospitality.
And also your book is coming, right?
Yeah, book. We've done a book celebrating a decade of niche, which has got lots of...
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's taken a while. I've got lots of stuff about, how my diagnosis, and it goes into a bit more graphic detail, but perhaps I shouldn't have done, but I have. And it's got a little bit about... the journey of how we
Sure.
came, and then some of the recipes that we've had for a long time, and then it's got some tips and tricks for turning meals, taking some of the allergies out of meals.
Amazing.
So that's the idea of that one. But I also I'm doing the Freeform show this year. I'm doing a talk there, and I'm doing a talk on allergies in aviation at the World Travel Show in Hamburg in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a common. I'm actually doing a chef demo there as well, so actually cooking on the stage. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think like hearing from your story and everything, it just like reminds me of the song "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger."
Yeah, well, I think what am I going to do? I did worry when I first was diagnosed. What am I going to do as a job? To be honest,
exactly.
If I can't try the food,
yeah.
I mean, there are chefs who don't try much of their food, but I always said never trust a skinny chef. So I think you have to try food to know what it tastes like. If you're making a sauce for your friends and family when you're cooking at home, I guess you're going to try it along the way.
Course.
Check it tastes right, seasonings right,
the salt,
all that. So I think that's really important when you're cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking. So I had to do something that would work for me, and this has. So whilst there've been other life restrictions around it, with your friends and the social aspects, I don't go to restaurants quite as much as I used to, and that's just being honest. I just don't think it's a bit like Russian roulette, isn't it? Do I? And I suppose I know too much, and I think do I really trust the chefs in that kitchen?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
That is so true.
You sort of look at the place and you look at the menu. Oh, yeah, we can do that. We can take this out. Some of them really do get it. And I will seek those people out. But what people also forget, that if we're going to a restaurant with friends, often we're the ones choosing or steering that conversation, let's say. Perhaps you become a little bit manipulative in that way. But because you want to eat somewhere you can actually enjoy the food and feel cool about it. There are some great chains actually in the UK who have done a really good job at making sure that the staff are well trained and they have gluten-free options. And I think it is getting better.
Amazing.
I think sometimes at airports you struggle. I don't know if you've had the same issue. I know that when I fly, I'm flying probably once every 2 weeks at the moment, and I really find there's not a lot. There's a Leon, I'm really happy. But if sometimes you get one of those rather sad sandwiches in the boxes, if you're very lucky. Marks & Spencer's usually has something, but it's more challenging when you're abroad, I think.
I always go for the boiled eggs in Pret a Manger.
Do you?
Oh yeah, they always fill me up, and like for a snack, of course.
For a plane journey.
It's just like a thing that I always have with me in case, I get hungry. But it's just, I think that like being celiac, it's also in many aspects, just like a way of being creative, on how to survive a little bit.
Have you become a better cook because you have to cook for yourself?
I had to learn in a way because, again, I discovered it when I was 11. So for me, it was just like, okay, I can eat fries. But my mom was like, no, you have to make sure the oil, they use it like a different oil for, the fries because maybe they fry other things and you cannot, contamination. But I think like the more I grow up, the more I'm very creative with the food because there's so many meals that you can prepare without even just like buy gluten-free products in general. So I love in my way to be a little creative as well. So, do you experiment a lot? All time? Like, all the time. Does your menu kind of changes?
Yeah, so I'm cooking on the stage and I had to think, it's got to be allergen-free, so top 14 allergen-free. And I wanted to make it, kind of exciting. And I said, and they wanted me to do a salad because there's much cooking equipment. I really had to think hard about how I was going to do it, but I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to make a kind of like a not satay dressing, which it's got sunflower seed butter in it and stuff like that, but lots of ginger, lots of garlic, lots of bit of chili, coriander, those kind of things in it, and coconut aminos rather than soy sauce.
Amazing.
So it's very zingy, lots of lime juice, lots of lime zest. And on a salad, it's fantastic.
Amazing. So if like people who are hosting friends at a dinner, they can totally like buy your book and see how they can turn like a gluten meal into a gluten-free meal, because I think it's just like sometimes people are scared.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I don't want to cook for you. Maybe you get ill, whatever, you get sick, and I don't want that. So maybe that will help.
Yeah, I hope, hopefully, and I think people worry too much.
Oh,
to
yeah,
some
for
extent.
sure.
You get the friends who are like overkill, and the friends don't really care at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
Oh, yeah. 50-50 all the time.
I forgot you're gluten-free.
Oh, yeah, you're gluten-free. Can you eat? Oh, okay, whatever.
They bring the snacks out,
Yeah.
and every single one of them has got either may
Yeah.
contain or I'm also very anti may contain or alibi
Yeah.
labeling. I won't
Yeah.
eat anything like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I just want to thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for sharing everything with us. If you guys are in London, please again tell us where they can find you, like a super gluten-free, safe space for everybody.
Yeah, so you can have a look at nichefoodanddrink.com, and the restaurants in Rosebery Avenue, 197 to 199, just next to Sadler's Wells Theatre. And we'd be very happy to welcome you.
Of course, and thank you for, making meals also for us in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Marc, again. And, thank you so much.
Thank you too.